It started as an accident, a blonde actress on a movie set, hair slipping over one eye. That one mistake made her famous. Then it got women hurt. Then it destroyed her career. Decades later, another woman made the look iconic again, this time on purpose. She was elegant, mysterious, untouchable, and like the one before her, she died far too young. But this hairstyle was just a hairstyle, right? Well, depending on how you look at it, it might have been the beginning of the end. Veronica Lake was born Constance Frances Marie Ockelman in Brooklyn, New York, in November of 1922. Her father died in an oil tanker explosion when she was just 12. Her mother remarried, and the family relocated to Florida, and later to Beverly Hills. It was there that Constance began attending acting classes, landing small roles in films under the stage name Veronica Lake. She was short, just 4 feet 11 inches, with an unusually low, sultry voice and striking pale features. For a while, she was forgettable, just another starlet on the studio roster. Then, something happened. While filming a scene for I Wanted Wings in 1940, a lock of her blonde hair slipped down over her right eye. The shot was kept in, and the effect was immediate. The hairstyle, soft, mysterious, and almost accidental looking, caught the attention of both the studio and the public. Paramount made it her signature. By the time Sullivan's Travels was released a year later, Veronica Lake was a full-fledged star. Her image, cool, distant, glamorous. The Peekaboo Bang became inseparable from her name. Soon, women across America began copying the look, but what started as a fashion trend was about to become a problem, a very serious one. By 1942, Veronica Lake's face was everywhere, movie screens, magazine covers, posters, and barracks. But the Peekaboo Bang wasn't just a Hollywood gimmick anymore. It had become a nationwide fashion trend, especially among young women entering the workforce during World War II. With so many men overseas, women filled the factories, shipyards, munitions plants, assembly lines, and many of them wore their hair just like Veronica. It was soft, feminine, beautiful, but it was also dangerous. In the factories, long, loose hair posed a serious threat. Women began getting their hair caught in drills, belts, and machines. Some were scalped, others were severely injured. The problem got so bad the U.S. government stepped in. They asked Veronica Lake, one of the most famous women in the country, to change her look. She agreed. In a public campaign, Lake appeared with her hair pinned up in a safer style, what would later be called the victory roll, a practical, stylish alternative meant to protect working women. But the damage was already done, and for Veronica, the shift came at a cost. Without the bang, she lost the mystery, the magic, the very thing that made her a star. The Peekaboo Bang made her a star, but once she let it go, Hollywood let her go. By the mid-1940s, Veronica Lake's film roles began to dry up. Without her signature look, studios struggled to rebrand her. She wasn't the mysterious blonde anymore, just another actress in a crowded market. Behind the scenes, things were falling apart. Her marriage to director André de Toth was unraveling. She struggled with alcoholism, and rumors of erratic behavior made her difficult to work with. In 1948, Paramount Pictures, her home studio, dropped her. She was only in her mid-20s. Over the next decade, Lake's life became a slow, quiet descent. She moved to New York, picked up stage work when she could, but the spotlight never found her again. In the 1960s, she was arrested for public drunkenness and became a tabloid fixture. By the time she resurfaced in the early 70s, she was living under a different name and working as a cocktail waitress in a hotel. In 1973, Veronica Lake died of hepatitis and kidney failure in Burlington, Vermont. She was 50 years old. The woman who once lit up the screen with a single glance died alone and largely forgotten. Nearly 50 years after Veronica Lake's rise, the look came back. A new woman, a new era. But the same quiet mystery behind one hidden eye. In the mid-1990s, Aaliyah was emerging as a fresh force in R&B. She was smooth, controlled, elegant. At just 15, she was already signed to a major label, mentored, marketed, and carefully styled. And by her second most successful album era, she came through with an entirely new look and one that would make her forever iconic. The look? Long hair draped across one eye. And this time, it wasn't an accident. This style was deliberate. Aaliyah's mother was a fan of old Hollywood, and one name kept coming up, Veronica Lake. That old Hollywood Peekaboo Bang became Aaliyah's signature look, and it worked. A symbol of elegance, poise, and protection. The look suited Aaliyah. It gave her an air of mystery, maturity, and elegance, far beyond her years. But behind the scenes, like Veronica, Aaliyah was no stranger to darkness. As her star rose, so did the pressure. Aaliyah's early years were marked by industry exploitation. She survived grooming, an illegal marriage, industry secrets, silence she was often forced to keep, and relentless pressure to stay perfect. Despite it all, she climbed, racking up hits, starring in films, and transforming into a full-blown icon before the age of 21. But in August of 2001, her life came to a sudden end. Aaliyah was killed in a plane crash at only 22 years old, leaving behind a legacy that felt unfinished. Now I pose the question on whether or not this hairstyle was cursed. But what if the problem wasn't with the hairstyle, but with the eye that was covered, or the one left exposed? Throughout history, the eyes have been called the windows to the soul. So when one is hidden, especially by choice, what does that really say? In the world of occult symbolism, covering one eye has never just been about fashion. It's been interpreted as a sacrifice, a symbolic offering of part of oneself in exchange for fame, power, or success. Some claim it's rooted in the Luciferian doctrine, a belief system where enlightenment, power, and godlike status come through rebellion, self-worship, and material gain. Covering one eye, they say, represents turning away from spiritual truth and choosing the material world instead. According to one biblical interpretation of Zechariah 11:17, the idle shepherd who leaves the flock is cursed with a blinded right eye, symbolizing moral decay and abandonment of divine duty. So, when a woman covers her right eye and leaves her left exposed, is she turning her back on spiritual sight and giving herself over to the world? And when she covers her left eye instead, leaving the right eye visible, what might that mean? Is she keeping a righteous eye open, or is she offering her left, the symbolic eye of intuition, emotion, and inner power, as a sacrifice? It's not about superstition, it's about symbolism. Because once you see how often the one-eye pose shows up, on album covers, magazine shoots, red carpet events, you have to ask, is it just a coincidence? Or are we watching something being signaled right in plain sight? It's impossible to ignore how two of the most iconic women tied to the peekaboo hairstyle. Each chose a different eye to cover. Veronica Lake, the original face of the look, almost always covered her right eye. Aaliyah, decades later, popularized a modern version of the same style. But hers consistently covered the left. In occult theory, that difference matters. In occult doctrine, especially within esoteric and Luciferian belief systems, the right eye is often seen as the eye of righteousness, representing moral clarity, conscious action, and even divine order. Covering the right eye, then, can symbolize a rejection of those things, a turn away from truth, or an embrace of ego and control, a kind of moral surrender. The left eye, on the other hand, has long been associated with the eye of Horus, or the all-seeing eye, a symbol of power, hidden knowledge, and spiritual vision. But it comes at a price. According to certain interpretations, hiding the left eye can represent voluntary submission to elite agendas, sacrificing personal identity for fame, fortune, or favor from hidden hands. So if Veronica's right eye was hidden, and Aaliyah's left was veiled, they weren't just flipping a style, they were reflecting opposite sides of a deeper symbol, perhaps even detrimental. Now, whether either woman was aware of these meanings is unlikely, Most artists aren't given the full picture. They're styled, shaped, and positioned by industry hands. But that doesn't mean they weren't impacted by it. Both women became synonymous with elegance, mystery, and glamour, and both experienced strange turns in their careers, followed by tragic early deaths. Maybe they were just icons, maybe they were just unlucky, or maybe the symbolism was working through them, whether they knew it or not. The Peekaboo Bang was a sexy, seductive, alluring style that created two icons, but in both cases, it became the look the world remembered, right before everything ended. For Veronica Lake, it was an accident that made her a star, and when she got rid of it, the industry got rid of her. It was a style that became dangerous for women expected to work with heavy machinery, and many were permanently maimed or even killed, all for the sake of staying fashionable. For Aaliyah, it was intentional, a symbol of sex appeal, privacy, control, but one that came to represent the silence she had to carry in the face of hidden secrets and exploitation. We'll never know if it was just an eerie coincidence from a trendy hairstyle, or if it was what was under the hair that caused all this. But one thing's for sure, it was a hell of a way to be remembered. So lurkers, what do you think? Was it just a hairstyle? Or did they cover something more than their eye? Was it a coincidence, symbolism, sacrifice? You decide and let me know down below.